Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Hell Money Podcast. I am your co-host, Casey Rodarmor, along with your other co-host, Aaron Redwing. What's going on?
I think that might be one of the first times you haven't like stuttered or stumbled slightly in an intro.
Yeah.
Usually you go like Redwing or something because you're like not used to saying my last name.
Yeah, I'm not used to. You're like not an object to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not like an AI.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've been talking a lot to ChatGPT.
Like, I've noticed you ask ChatGPT everything.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at like prompting ChatGPT, and also I've started to think about like how crazy large language models is.
Mm-hmm.
The way that large language models work, which ChatGPT is a large language model, is they do what's called next token prediction.
Mm-hmm. Which has nothing to do with crypto.
Nothing to do with crypto. If only.
This is the blockchain AI synthesis. Bro.
Yeah. If only ChatGPT.
They need to predict the next token.
Absolutely. So they do what's called next token prediction. A token is like roughly a word or like a piece of a word. So you can think of it as being next word prediction.
Yeah.
Seems kind of simple, doesn't it?
It does seem simple.
Yeah, it's deceptively simple. And the reason is that they're trained on a whole bunch of internet text. They're trained on all the text in the internet. And it seems very simple, but in order to be good at predicting the next word in a sentence, you actually need to be following along to that sentence really carefully.
And they are, you feel?
That's what they do. Yeah. Think about for me to like, if I'm talking, for you to know what the next word I'm going to say is, you actually
I would have to be really in tune with you.
You have to be really in tune. You have to be thinking along, maybe you could do it every once in a while for a few words, like I love Donald
Duck.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for the T word.
I know.
Yeah. Donald Duck.
I'm throwing some randomness in.
That's right.
Right? Because what is it called when you like throw in
the temperature?
The temperature, right. I'm increasing the temperature.
That was exactly
a
perfect example.
Donald Duck was a good.
So like in order to follow along, I don't love Donald Trump. People get this mistaken sometimes, but I want to be very clear. Not a fan of Donald Trump.
You are wearing orange.
That's Bitcoin orange, not Trump orange.
Anyways.
So in order to do next token prediction, next word prediction, you actually need to be following along. So like, think if I say like, I went out the other day and the sky was
blue.
Yeah. There's a lot that you actually need to know to complete that sentence. If you were just a completely naive, entity who didn't know anything about the sky and blue and the planet Earth and whatever, you couldn't finish that sentence.
I have a take on this that's like very Aaron spirituality iceberg deep take.
Well, let's get started.
For context, we're going to do an episode at some point that's Aaron going down the spirituality iceberg and explaining all of the various spiritual concepts that I'm an expert in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the ideas of the Age of Aquarius is that when we entered the Age of Leo 12,000 years ago, we lost telepathy. Because Leo is all about individuation.
You know about the bicameral mind?
We were telepathic. So the great year in astrological terms is like the precession of the equinoxes, like the 26,000 year cycle. And so when you go from Leo and Aquarius, which are opposite signs, you enter like the individuation phase and then you go back under to the telepathy phase. This is like
it's like individual versus collectivist.
Yes, exactly. And so when Atlantis fell and we entered the Age of Leo, we lost telepathy with the fall of Atlantis.
Okay.
I'll explain this again on the iceberg. We can get into more details, but we lost telepathy. And so the idea, and then for the last like 14,000, 12,000, whatever years, we've been living in like our own heads, like individuated and separate from everyone else's ego. But with entering the Age of Aquarius, one of the things that people talk about with like ascending to 5D consciousness and all that kind of shit is that you become telepathic. And that's why people are like, oh, I'm an empath, or like I can like read other people's whatever. But I think that the telepathy that we're regaining in the Age of Aquarius is like internet telepathy. It's like a digital telepathy.
Oh shit!
Where it's like whatever. Maybe I should say this for the iceberg, but like it's interesting to think about AI through that context too. It's like next token prediction is like a level of telepathy that the AI has with like you. It's like learning what you're gonna say next. So we're back in the telepathic era, or getting there at least.
If you internalize the idea that next token prediction is very simple on its face, but that to do it well, you need to possess some kind of intelligence, you will understand a lot about how ChatGPT et al. Work.
Yeah. And you're obsessed. You love ChatGPT right now.
Yeah, I do.
You were so negative on ChatGPT for so long.
Yeah.
And AI in general. You were being such an AI boomer.
Well, I'm still an AI boomer about a lot of other things. Like ChatGPT, I'm very positive on for essentially replacing my use of Google almost entirely.
For sure.
I only use ChatGPT, or I only use Google when I know I want to get to a specific page on a website. Otherwise, I just ask ChatGPT about it. But I am still kind of negative on the other things. Like, it still can't code worth a damn.
Yeah.
Like, unless you are writing slop, the AI cannot help you code because it can only produce
That's
slop.
the indicator of like someone being a slop programmer. Is that they're like vibe coding and thinking like, wow, it comes up with such good stuff.
Yeah, true. Yeah, very true. Very true. But I've never gotten it to do anything more than a very trivial thing. I mean, I use it for reference.
Yeah.
Like, how would I write this? What should I do here? X, Y, Z. But I'm getting concepts. I'm not getting the code.
Yeah, I would say like I use ChatGPT instead of Google for like general questions where I want an answer. And then I use TikTok search for like what I would previously do, blah, 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 Reddit. On Google, where it's like I want a person to say something, because Reddit is like people are so lost on Reddit. Like I almost don't trust Redditors at this point.
Oh, interesting.
Like for example, I had a question of like I've been trying to reorder contacts and no one will let me buy contacts unless I have an up-to-date prescription.
Yeah, nanny state bullshit.
And like when I Google like why can't I just buy contacts Reddit, like someone has asked this on Reddit, and then all the replies are like, well, I don't know about you, but my vision prescription changes every couple of years. So you really should be seeing an eye doctor. They're actually looking out for you.
Like I'm like, subtext, I am so deeply cucked.
Yeah. But if I went on TikTok and looked that up, people would be like, like they don't want you to have.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. You know? They don't want your prescription to be up to date. You're going to start seeing in 5D, you know? Yeah, exactly. Totally.
That's the answer that I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, why don't we go into the market update?
Right. Yeah. Actually, well, should we give like kind of a context of what we're talking about today in general?
Oh, yeah, I guess. So we're going to do a market update, which is Aaron's like sort of like psychic market update.
Astrological.
Astrological. I feel like it's not quite astrological. I feel like it has a broader scope. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because I feel like people, when they hear that you're into astrology, they don't understand how fucking weird you are. Like they think that you're like, oh yeah, I read the horoscope in the newspaper, you know?
Yeah.
That's not, no, Aaron's.
I'm like working on a theory of everything.
Yeah.
Like my
yeah.
own personal theory of everything.
So that's why I don't want to undersell the market update. The market update is like a cosmic market
It's a cosmic, right? We're going to do a cosmic market update. We're going to talk about the tariffs.
We're going to talk about the tariffs.
We're tariff experts, just like everyone else now.
Yeah, we disagree, I think, on the tariffs.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yep. We're going to talk about the Akashic Records.
The Akashic Records.
You're obsessed.
Yeah, and finally, Randonauting is going to plug in the one real qubit.
Yeah, so we found a use for quantum computing.
They found a use for, you only need one qubit for this.
Yeah.
You know? And then we're going to talk about opcat.
Yeah, I think the thematic flow there is really beautiful.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, we get a little technical with the qubit before we dive into the really technical stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we should start with the market update.
Yeah, the cosmic market update.
The cosmic market update.
Yep.
So we had the worst day in stock market history last week.
Yeah, I wasn't like, I don't really pay attention to stock markets. So the way that I saw this was through like Redditors freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like they thought that Trump was not going to do tariffs on China, and then
they didn't think anything, in my opinion. That's me being negative.
Let's
on them,
get the facts.
Okay,
let's go to the facts.
Let's go to the facts.
So well, wait, is this the market update or the tariff?
This is the start. No, we're starting with the market update. Well,
okay.
but the tariffs are obviously related.
Okay, so I thought that what happened was that there was some rumor circulating that Trump was like not going to do tariffs on China. And then the stock market like got kind of happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody at the White House was like asked to confirm. And then they were like, oh no, that's fake news. And then like $1 trillion got haircut off of the Standard & Poor like 500.
You could be right. I thought what happened was like, okay, when Trump was initially elected, the stock market went up, Bitcoin went up, and the stock market went up. This is back in November.
Yep.
Like literally, I think Bitcoin hit all-time high within like a couple days or something after Trump being elected, which at the time was like 70 something.
Yep.
But you know, like my perspective on that was that people were really antsy for some good news, and they wanted something positive in the market. And they're like, oh, Trump's going to be good for the market because Biden was so bad or whatever, you know, like Trump's going to cut all our taxes. Financial crime is legal.
Oh yeah. Always the meme that the Republicans are going to like make the market, the spigots just go.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like there was this kind of euphoria post-Trump election that wasn't really
Trump-phoria.
Trump-phoria. Exactly. It really was. Good episode name. yeah, I feel like there was some Trump-phoria going on since he got elected that wasn't really based in like the things that he was saying, because he was saying he was going to put tariffs like the whole time. You know, that's his like
people
Bernie
never
Sanders
know. They
style.
thought it was like a bluff, maybe.
Yeah,
that he was just bluffing to get.
And he still could be.
Didn't he hit China with 105% tariffs? Like,
I'm just saying he still could be.
I don't think you can bluff if there are 105% tariffs on.
But
China.
I need to see the tariff like happen. I guess is my point. So anyway, so he, you know, Trump got elected. Everyone was like, "Woohoo! It's gonna be so great for." You know, crypto, it's like financial crime is legal. Like we're good.
Totally.
You know, finally we got our guy and like whatever, you know, the markets went kind of crazy. And then like the actual reality of Trump is that like, it's like honestly, Jason should edit in the clip of Trump signing the strategic Bitcoin reserve thing.
And this is something you believe in?
100%, yeah. Okay. And the whole community believes in it.
Very good. And they made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like the video of him where it's like, and what is this? And you think it's a good idea?
Yeah.
And I said I would do it. Okay. And he just signs it. And that's the actual reality of the Trump presidency.
That's what Trump, all of the bills were. It was him sliding out pieces of political pork to all the people who had supported his campaign in the most perfunctory way possible.
And he's like doing crowd work. Like he's at the desk in the Oval Office. There's like journalists around him. He's kind of like crowd working the journalists. Like as
he
he's
can't
signing.
help himself.
He can't help himself. So like, yeah, from my perspective, like the tariffs were obviously going to happen because that's so much of that. I feel like that speaks to the Steve Bannon, Bernie Sanders, working class side of the Trump campaign. You know, it's like, they're like, we need to bring America first. We need to bring manufacturing back to the US. How do you do that? Like, I mean, actually that's a question. How do you bring manufacturing jobs back to the US? If you were tasked with trying to do that?
I would cut the minimum wage. I'd eliminate the minimum wage. I would eliminate any laws that force employers to bargain with unions. What else would I do? There's a lot of weird shipping stuff. Like I think that like for a ship to go from a U.S. port to a U.S. port, it needs to be a U.S. ship. Like there's weird shit like that. What else? I'm not a big like anti-OSHA guy. Like I'm not like, oh, we need to gut OSHA, but like, yeah, gutting the minimum wage, really important. Gutting unions, really important. I mean, I like price comes from supply and demand, and unions raise prices of labor by restricting demand. That's all they do. Minimum wage is incredibly anti anybody low skilled. It's anti low skilled work. Yeah. What else would I do? I haven't really thought about it, but those are the two big ones. Yeah.
I mean, if you're like, you know, a union worker, which like that was part of what he was trying to appeal to, was this like, again, this is why I say it's like a Steve Bannon, Bernie Sanders kind of like, it's almost like a leftist economic platform in a way. Trump is like very, I wouldn't say he like is ideological at all.
Yeah. And
you
also
know, he's
Trump
very strategic. He's striking deals.
And also Trump is probably a mercantilist, meaning that he like believes that the goal of a nation is to quote unquote win at trade.
Yeah.
So that they're buying your goods and you're getting their money. When in reality, that's like just a broken, stupid viewpoint. Like, do you think we're losing when we send China green pieces of paper and they send us back automobiles?
Right.
No, we're fucking winning. We're reaming them. Like, give me a fucking break. So the mercantilist viewpoint, it just doesn't work.
I guess it's also isolationist. Like if you view it in tandem with the anti-immigration policy, I think it makes more sense as well. It's like America becoming more isolationist is another aspect of it. But like he was always like every podcast interview that I watched him talk about his platform, like whether it was Joe Rogan or he went on Logan Paul, Theo Vaughn, like all those interviews, he said tariffs like that. And like he said it like there's a magical little world. It's called a tariff.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
like he
also,
said this is what he was going to do.
It's exactly like when he said there's a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Yes.
Like he had a plan for that. And the plan was to stop remittances from going to Mexico. But that plan did not work.
Yeah.
Mexico did not pay for the wall.
No, Mexico did not pay for the wall.
No. Does that bother you?
No, I don't really care about the wall.
Okay.
It doesn't affect me.
But does it bother you that Trump had like a 4D chess plan that didn't work out at all?
I don't think he had a 4D chess plan.
No, that was his 4D chess plan, that he was going to restrict what's the word? I just said it like 10 seconds ago.
Immigration? I don't know.
No, money from Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
What's the word when people send money home?
remittances.
Yes. Yeah. He was going to block remittances from Mexico and force them to pay for the wall. And then he would turn the remittances back on. That's what his 4D chess plan was.
Yeah.
He said it multiple times. It didn't work at all.
I think this actually maybe the point of the market response is like, I think people thought like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it.
Yeah.
I still kind of think that about tariffs. I'm like, is he actually going to do it?
Have they happened? Know. Like literally
no, he just brought out the chart.
Literally what I said about like 105% of tariffs. I was just telling you a Reddit thread that I read.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know
like
what the it was Wall Street Bets. That's where I get my news from, literally.
But everyone's a tariff expert. Like it's like every time that anything happens, like in general, I would say like global economy is obviously like the one where it's like the most like people have no idea what's going on and they all of a sudden are experts and have hot takes.
Yep.
But I think like there's so much that Trump says that the beauty of like if you get on the Trump train is that like you can just like remove the things that you don't like and be like, well, he's not actually going to do that. He just said that.
Yep.
Like he's not actually going to make Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's like
whereas like people who really hate Trump, they delight in taking everything that he say deadly serious.
Yes, I think that's actually like the divide between like Trump lovers and Trump haters is it's like one side is like choosing to kind of like pick the best of what he says and adopt that as like what he will do. Well, and the other side is picking the worst of what he says and adopting that as what he will do. And the actual reality is like some superposition in between those two things.
And you see a lot of people who are saying that the things that Trump does are like good actually, and the things that Trump does are like bad actually.
Yeah.
Right? Like the tariffs, you have Trump supporters being like, no, tariffs are good actually. And it's like, no, you're an idiot. Like you are a fucking idiot. If Trump like, you know, fucking drew like a smiley face, you would be like, that's the Mona Lisa, you know?
Yeah.
So those people, I have no truck with those people.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I'm probably against tariffs, but I kind of like don't think they're gonna like this is like me being like the
you don't think they're gonna happen.
Yeah, I think he's doing the art of the deal, you know. He's viewing this as a business negotiation between nations.
Yeah, I mean if I was like,
and I don't even say that to defend him, I just you know, I just that's the way that I see this
if I like the most positive spin I could possibly put on this, and I don't know if this is true or not, like I don't believe this, but like the most positive spin would be like they're working really hard on a deal right now and this is all just posturing. And then they're going to announce like no tariffs, like great deal, you know, and then the stock market is going to go through the fucking roof and like Trump is going to be a hero.
Yeah. And I think it's like do you
to be clear, for fixing the chaos that he created.
Yeah. Well, that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does. But I think it's also like there's a disagreement of like some people want a president that geopolitically like befriends everyone. And some people want like the strongman leader that like bullies other countries, you know, and Trump is like obviously the bullying other countries approach. Whereas like Obama is like the Nobel Peace Prize winning, like befriending all the other countries.
I will say that I think that the breakdown of our relationship with Europe is probably catastrophic.
For who?
For the world.
Yeah, I have negative views of Europe these days, but that's not to say that I think we should have a bad relationship with them.
Yeah, I have negative views for Europe, but I have much more negative views of like authoritarian Latin American countries, authoritarian Middle Eastern countries, authoritarian African countries, authoritarian Asian countries. And us and Europe are very clearly allied against those countries. You know, it's like when you look at
it's our allies.
Well, it's
like you're burning bridges with your allies.
It's like here's the like good side of the scale, and like here's like where we could be, and then like here's Europe, so it like doesn't look very great. But then like here's like North Korea, and here's like Russia, you know. And so it's like, yeah, I have negative feelings about Europe. I mean, it's basically like a museum at this point for like artisan cheeses.
I keep telling Raph it's Epcot. Europe is Epcot.
Yeah, Europe is. It's not even Epcot. It's one section of Disneyland, a small section.
Well, yeah, Epcot is you go around to all the different. You go to the Hofbrauhaus, and then you go to the Parisian Cafe. Like it's like. Europe is like a place for Americans to go on summer vacations.
Absolutely.
They export artisan goods.
They export artisan goods and they have aerospace engineers that confusingly make 15,000 euros a year. And you're like, how is that possible? But yeah, Europe has problems. Like I don't want to live in like the UK, for example, because they're like crazy about free speech. But like North Korea is worse about free speech.
Yeah. Well, are we sanctioning Europe worse than North Korea?
No, but Europe is our allies against the truly authoritarian nations. And we're weakening the geopolitical order, the Pax Americana that let America dictate overall like relatively good rules, right? We went on some wars that were like not actually necessary for this. And like I have a friend of mine, he emails me, he's Danish, and like he's like, this is catastrophic. Like the relationship between America and Denmark has been shattered.
Yeah.
Does that register for you at all?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Denmark now because Denmark is like one of the only countries that's had like working class wins. So like Denmark like leaned away from like the woke ideas and more into like the labor economic ideas.
Yeah,
and like they have not had this like, you know, Europe's always like flirting with like the fascist uprising. Like, and I mean that like for real for Europe, because Europe actually has a history of it. But like, you know, it's like if you ignore the working class too much in Europe, like they will eventually like just go into an authoritarian right direction. And I think like from what I'm not an expert on this, but like Denmark has had more kind of like attention to the working class as far as their like progressivist policies have gone. And they're not tending in the direction of like authoritarian right overtaking.
Sure. But I mean,
which is a little separate.
Yeah. But I mean, I mentioned Denmark just as an example. I think a lot of other countries in Europe are like, our relationship with America has been shattered.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not our relationship with America, but our relationship with the Trump administration. So the next 4 years are going to be really weird, or 3 years or whatever. Like, they were like, oh my God, a ally, somebody who should have been an ally of the United States, Trump got on national TV and like bullied him, like visibly, right? That's crazy.
I know.
Angela Merkel, I don't even know if she's like still in power.
I don't think she is.
Yeah, like, but like, let's pretend she is.
Yeah, sure.
She's timeless.
Yeah.
Angela Merkel doesn't want to go to some like media op with Trump and all of a sudden get like bullied on like German economic policy or German not paying for NATO. Like that is a seismic shift, right? So yeah, I think it's bad, and I think that like people like us, we forget like, yeah, we're on the side of liberty. Like Europe's kind of shitty. It's this like, you know, authoritarian trending artisan cheese factory. But then it's like, yeah, there's actually like North Korea and Saudi Arabia and Iran and China and Russia. And these are the real global threats, and the world can become an unpleasant place quickly if there isn't this like group of allies who are at least
it's like
who are liberal democracies.
I would describe it as like the post World War II order is breaking down like significantly, you know?
And that's optional. We chose that. Trump chose that.
Indeed. He did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I think like people keep like, I don't really believe in a political solution at this point. Like I don't like generally speaking, like I'm pretty like politics are broken. They're gamified. And like, you know, if you put Biden in charge or Trump in charge or whatever, like it's just like a matter of accelerationism versus non-accelerationism towards an ultimate end point, which is like a transformation of an old structure into something new that we don't know what it's going to be. And so I think like the thing that I feel like a lot of people supported Trump or like got into Trump because they are accelerationists, you know? And that's what he's delivering right now is like an accelerationist, like, okay, let's just like get to the end point of this and like get to the end collapse moment.
You may not believe in political solutions, but do you believe in political like catastrophes?
Yeah.
That if we...
I'm a doomsday prepper.
No, but and that if we could choose to avoid those catastrophes, we could.
I think it's like that I find the current structure unsustainable. And so I think something new and very different will have to emerge.
But couldn't that have emerged not through Trump?
Totally.
Okay.
But they didn't try. You know? So actually what I will say, like I've been sending you TikToks of Gavin Newsom, right? Because Gavin's doing his thing.
Yeah, he is.
Our dearest governor, Gavin Newsom.
Yep.
He's started a podcast where he's bringing on people like Steve Bannon.
Yeah, which is crazy.
He's making TikToks about how California is going to have open trade. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. Like, what if the outcome is like states' rights, California secedes?
Yeah,
you know?
that's a tough one. I mean, we do benefit a lot from the Pax Americana.
But if the Pax Americana is non-functional.
Well, are you asking me like, do I want California to have open trade with China?
Right.
Then the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do I want America to fall apart in a chaotic way? The answer is no.
Yeah. It's not that I want that. It's like that it feels like that's what will
It's hard
happen.
to tell sometimes.
I know.
It's really hard to tell sometimes.
I know that's the problem with me. I think it's like, because I have this,
you're
I have like a cosmological view on all of this. Like it's a very like, well, this is what's fated.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like we're going through the Pluto return of the United States. Like most empires don't survive the Pluto return.
Yeah, I just don't want to be around when it happens.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting, but may you live in exciting times is kind of a curse.
It is a curse for sure.
Yeah.
But we all chose to be here.
Yeah.
This is the spirituality iceberg.
That's right. Yeah. Well, what is the cosmic market update?
So, okay, like basically if you rewatch the How Many podcast episode where I talked about the 2025 astrology, I said very specifically like March and April are going to be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't know if I use this word because I don't like to be like a fear-mongering astrologer. And obviously, like, I think that's also like part of my like humor in all of this, like where I'm kind of like, I'm like suppressing a smirk, like when I'm talking about something that's like bad or like is maybe not something I believe in or agree with.
Yeah.
It's because like, I just sort of have this perspective of like, there's like a cosmic order playing out and we are like mere actors playing out a show.
Yep.
And I understand that other people,
all the world's a stage.
Exactly. And like, I understand that other people don't see the world that way. And I also understand that it's sort of a callous and flippant way to see the world.
Yeah. Well, you kind of told me like, this is your response to like nihilism.
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, it's like,
I would describe you as a pluralistic nihilist.
What do you mean by that?
I kind of mean that like you're nihilistic, but like there's all these things that you maybe believe could be true. You're sort of open to a lot of possibilities.
That's exactly right. It's like, I think that like I used to be very nihilistic, and by used to be, I mean like maybe age 16 to 19.
Was there like a trigger?
Raised atheist. I was always very like, God's not real, Santa's not real. Like you guys are dumb for believing in this stuff. Like I had a little bit of like a Reddit atheist kind of vibe to me growing up.
Yep.
And then I think like I went down to like the bottom of nihilism, and then I went to absurdism.
Yep.
And then I became spiritual.
Right.
Like it was like this like ascent out. But part of that, like regardless of the spirituality aspect of it, part of it is that I think there's like a hubris to nihilism where you're saying like things will go a certain way and it's going to be bad. And I have this perspective of like, I don't know, what God's plan is, or like, how could I pretend or have the hubris to believe that I know what's going to happen?
Right.
And if you have that perspective when you're already starting at the bottom, what you're actually opening yourself up to is more optimism, because you're not saying like, I know things are going to be bad. You're like, I think things are going to be bad, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And so then you kind of like open yourself up to all these weird ways that things could actually be good.
Yep.
And so like, for example, like, Trump announcing all these tariffs and like people being like, wait, this is actually terrible. I'm like, well, maybe California will negotiate its own trade deals and maybe that's a good thing in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, it's more that like when someone makes a big move or transformation is allowed to start, also with that, good things can emerge.
Yep.
And that's actually the point of the shock doctrine, like the book that I had you read. It's a negative, like Naomi Klein takes it in a negative direction.
I can't take that woman seriously.
But take the premise of like the shock doctrine as like, when you have a shocking political event, it allows for an opportunity for a whole new like structure to emerge.
Yeah, but that's
that she takes it in the negative way, where she's like,
that's,
oh well,
you should.
the
like,
capitalists use this.
That perfectly describes like left-wing revolutions, right? Like they don't go good places.
But when do you think we've had positive transformation? Like, what do you think brings about positive transformation?
Peace, stability, trade.
Yeah.
Rule of law.
Yeah, you're kind of like you're a Democrat.
I'm not a Democrat. I mean,
but that's like, it's like a, like
no, I'm a libertarian. Democrats don't even believe in that shit. That's just like what Democrats like.
I guess
big
I mean
D
like
or little D.
Big D or little D. Big D. I meant like you're like the Henry Kissinger wing of the neocons, where it's like the world is a balance of powers and we just have to keep the powers in balance, basically. Or like a Fukushima end of history, liberal democracy.
I don't believe that's true, because I think that it's good when the good guys win. Like,
but I guess it's like, to me, it's like whether a transformation is chaotic or structured, like you have the possibility of a good and bad outcome in both of those situations. I would like to have seen a structured, positive transformation for the United States. I don't think that was like on the table.
Yeah.
At any point.
I just basically never believed that a shock leads to a good thing.
Yeah.
It's just like that's the thing is like what I'm getting at with like what produces change is like I think positive change is incremental. And positive change happens under a broad regime of stability. That not stability in the sense of things are not changing, but stability in the sense that there's no violence, that economic conditions are like relatively certain. People can trade, they can start businesses, they can do a little learning, they can do a little science. Like there's not instability in markets and like goods, and that people then make incremental change that makes everything better. That everything, all technology, social structures, everything, that's how it gets better. Maybe there are limited times where like catastrophic events are good. Maybe I think the only time that I'm like very convinced that that's true is in certain very, very authoritarian regimes that are so authoritarian that actually disruption is good. Like people have described that, like Russia's like that the regime in Russia is so bad, you know, considering Russia as a entity that is the continuation of the Soviet Union, that actually whenever there's any disruption, it's good because that's the only time you get any breathing room from underneath the boot. But in general, I think that violent change is bad, almost universally so. And good things can happen after violent change, after things settle down. And yeah, maybe it was the only way to get there, but that's like really unfortunate. Like it's always a one step back, 2 steps forward thing. And like, why can't we just take 2 steps forward?
I mean, totally. I definitely agree with you. Cosmically, astrologically, it's a chaotic, transformative time. That's why I say like, I'm not like I actually think I'm not like a doomer astrologer. Like there's a lot of astrologers right now that are very like, this is end times. Like it's so over. And I'm kind of like, well, transformation, like we had this conversation with Evan the other day, like, is the dark night of the soul necessary for the hero's journey?
Right.
Like maybe no, but it's often a part of it, you know?
Sure.
Maybe some things need to fall apart such that new structures come together. Another example of this is like Bitcoin. I mean, I don't think it's really hard to say like what the path to like hyper Bitcoinization looks like, but certainly like if the fiat system was functioning kind of okay, then like that's less of a reason for people to adopt a new technology that is better. Even like, you know what I mean?
The government could kill Bitcoin tomorrow by credibly adopting a 0% inflation rate and giving everybody a no KYC digital bank account.
Right.
That would be game over for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's more what I mean is it's like,
or maybe not, because Bitcoin.
Well, it's better.
0% inflation. Yeah, that'd be game over.
Well, it's a better technology, but there's not enough reason for people to upend the current system.
Sure.
Like causing a transformation is chaotic. And so like, you're not going to do that unless you really need to. And I think that's where I'm saying like chaos can be good in the sense that like, if something falls apart and that means that something better has the opportunity then to like make inroads with people that are like generally averse to change, generally inflexible, then that can be a positive outcome. And you just don't know. I guess that's like my absurdist nihilist into optimism track is like, you don't know that because this chaotic transformation is happening, that the result will be negative. I don't even know, like, you know, I would say right now, astrologically, I guess this episode will be posted like a little bit after. Actually, by the time this episode's posted, we'll be almost through it, like maybe 1 or 2 more weeks. But really like March and April, as I said, go back and rewatch the episode, How Many Podcasts, 2025 Astrology. March and April is all chaos, uncertainty, and anything that's like being said will happen right now is probably going to be reworked and moved in a different direction by the end of April. So for the market update, it's like, I think, people always just want number to go up. Like they're like, when number go up, when number go up. And it's like, number doesn't go up until you like create something of value.
Until you're ready for the number to go up.
Like literally until you until you
That's
are
why
in
this
a place.
is the cosmic market update.
Yeah. It's like, you need to be, I think like the era of
it's
easy.
Like work on yourself, girl.
Work on yourself. Yeah. Focus on you, queen. But like, we really are, I think, getting to the end of the era of easy money ultimately. And that's part of what Bitcoin is about. That's like what this, crypto is, this like Tower of Babel that's collapsing. That's like the accelerationism of the era of easy money. But like ultimately the end of this transformation is the end of the era of easy money.
And everybody's talking about the problems of easy money. I mean, Ray Dalio, did you see that thread or article that Ray Dalio posted on Twitter?
No.
He was like, I'll try to summarize. He was like, don't be distracted by the short-term chaotic headlines like, you know, Trump, tariffs, China, AI, whatever. What is happening is like a reshuffling of like the global order. It's an end of empires moment, and a lot of it is driven by unsustainable levels of debt and unsustainable levels of creditors on the other side.
Yes.
That the United States is addicted to debt, taking on debt to pay for things. And China is addicted to being on the other side of that debt, of lending to us and selling us shit. And that this is all the cards are coming down, and we don't know when they're going to come down, but they might come down fast. And all this superficial stuff is just that. Yeah. Is superficial.
That's what I mean. Is like, it's like the kind of like details and because I think I have this like cosmic view of what's happening. The details in it feel like, they feel like bluffs or moves or attempts, but they're not necessarily like results or outcomes.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's Venus is still retrograde, guys. We don't know like what's going to happen with the markets until Venus is out of retrograde, which it might be by the time this episode's posted. We shall see.
Yep.
But like it really is like it's Ray Dalio also. I would be shocked if he did not have some astrologer on the team because all of his models align astrologically. If no one's told him that, at least like let this message get to Ray Dalio.
The intern who does the charts is like really
a secret astrologer. Yeah. Yeah. Cause it is, I mean, he literally his 250-year empire rise and fall cycle. That's literally the Pluto cycle. So anyway, you know, and a lot of that, like, by the way, like is fucking just like pseudoscience, cosmic bullshit, even without the astrology associated with it. You know, it's like a vibe check.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it seems that empires must rise and fall. Like, why does it have to be that way?
Yep.
It's like some like Jungian archetype, you know, it's not like a real concrete, like, well, the empire only has 250 years of X natural resources and those run out. Like, there's not like a concrete reason why that happens.
I mean, I wonder if it does have to do with something about fiat, like not to bring it all back to fiat, but that like, okay, like new empire, like, or new order, everybody wants money. Nobody really trusts the new empire. They got to use gold. Stability, prosperity, use gold. Like life is good. And then what happens? Like temptation to debase the money, to water down the gold if it's gold money, or to break the link between gold and paper money, as the United States did. And then like money printing until it reaches unsustainable levels. Or unsustainable levels of like other kinds of debasement, and then like it all comes crashing down, and then we go into the next hegemony.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to the point you made earlier of like, oh well, I would like to see us just make 2 steps forward and like do small incremental changes to make a society better. Like, I just don't think that's the point that we're at in the cycle.
Yeah,
you know, like I think there's like a time for that. Yeah. That was maybe like Industrial Revolution time, and now we're in more of like the decadent end of an empire.
It's really unfortunate that the United States has never learned our lesson about debt and inflation.
Yeah.
So the Germans
Maybe we will.
Yeah, well, the Germans did. Like hyperinflation in the Weimar Republic, like that etched this kind of like genetic memory into the Germans that they are like, oh, you got to take care of inflation. And
otherwise Hitler.
I forget.
Yeah,
cause and effect.
It was Weimar into Hitler.
There we go.
Like,
Weimar right into Hitler.
They had democracy for like 10 years.
Yeah. And the United States hasn't learned that lesson. So in some sort of like, you know, maybe something positive could happen on this kind of spin. Maybe we fucking hyperinflate the dollar away, and then we're like, yo, we can't do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do think it's like it's the debt coming due. Ultimately, it's like we can't just print ourselves into debt into infinity. And what does the transformation around that look like? Probably chaotic.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why like Bitcoiners have this like apocalyptic vibe in general, is because they know like they see the writing on the wall in terms of the economy. Yep. So I don't know. It's like I don't think there's basically anything Trump could do to change that. Not even try. It's like there's no like world leader that could come into power in the United States and like turn the ship around with the debt in a non-chaotic
really
way.
Hard. I mean, it's very painful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The idea of having to do austerity, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I just think it's like, you know, we can try to, you know, I think the Democratic Party line is like, we can try to just like keep holding it off so that the boomers can retire, basically. Like, let's save the boomers, you know, let the boomers retire. and let's like keep holding off this like inevitable economic downturn that we've like sowed the seeds of since the 70s. And I just don't think we can. And obviously, like, you know, it's the classic, like you become more conservative as you get older, right? Because you have fewer.
You're speed running that.
Yeah, you have fewer, but it's like the younger generations like don't have the option to like hold it off until they retire.
Yep.
Like I don't think that I'm going to get 40 years of like steady managed decline to the point of a stable retirement.
Yeah.
You know? And even just like we can't have a system where everyone's wealth and life savings is tied up into risk assets.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy that we do that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy that you have to, if you're a programmer and you make money, you have to be a specialist in investing because your money isn't fucking worth anything and isn't a safe way to save money.
Yeah. Or you have to hire some guy who doesn't know what's going on to like manage it for you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, wait, I thought this was safe. And it's like, no, bro, this is an investment.
Yeah.
This isn't a fucking savings
Yeah, what are you
account.
talking about? Stocks and bonds? Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah. Shit coins.
Yeah. Shit coins.
They are. So, you know, I just think like I've been looking at this Q1 of 2025, literally, I think I first noticed that it was really bad in like 2022 when I was like, oh, let me look at the astrology of the next few years and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I also was like, oh, Trump has to be president because it just really, as I said, also in the Hell Money episode, his astrology is very tied up in it. Elon's astrology is also very tied up in it. And like, I just knew like he's going to have to be president. He's going to have to be in a position of power here because it's like way too complicated with his astrology as well.
Yep.
But May to July, very positive. Like it's a slow build. July is super positive. And then 2026 is, I think, the most positive astrological year that I like have lived through.
All right.
So, you know, that's my market update.
Hell yeah.
So just
cosmic market update.
That's the cosmic market update. Just like keep your head on straight, guys. Reconnect.
Work on yourself, queen.
Literally reconnect with yourself, find stillness, you know, determine how you can add value to the world because you can't just expect to siphon value.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we've talked about a bunch, which is that, you know, as Ordinals matures, you're going to go from being able to mint an inscription for $1 and sell it for 100 to being able to mint an inscription for 90 and sell it for 100, because that's what a mature market does. Like, people who make these assets are going to have to compete against each other to offer something of value. And if you're not in a really easy money, frothy, early environment, just putting it out there isn't going to work. You're going to have to spend money in fees, big file sizes. You're going to have to spend a lot of money in art, communication, community, like make something like actually good marketing. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry that the era of easy money is coming to an end.
Yeah, too bad.
But we've been telling you.
Yeah, and also, you know, we went through an era of easy money for inscriptions, right? And like, yeah, that's going to come to an end too.
Yeah,
it's already obviously come to an end.
Yeah.
The era of easy money for runes, well, that never even really started.
No. That was only to the miners.
Yeah, that was only to the miners. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, hang in there, guys. As I said, May's going to be better. July's great. We'll get there.
Yep. Should we move on to the Akashic Records?
We should move on to the Akashic Records. You got really obsessed with the Akashic Records recently.
I mean,
you're obsessed.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I think the Akashic Records are just such a funny concept. They sound so funny. So the Akashic Records, I can't exactly get like a fully straight answer.
No one can give you a straight answer.
Yeah, like what the Akashic Records are. So
it's a state of mind.
As far as I can tell, no, that's what I love about it. I think it's much, much more concrete and like crazy than that. So I think it was a concept from like Vedic religions, like, and it was discussed in like Sanskrit in India like a long time. And I think it's like very abstract in that, like, I don't even know if this is like a giant misinterpretation. And then in like the 1920s,
wasn't it like late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. These people called the Theosophists or Theosophists, were basically just like comparative religion junkies, but like they really believed it. Like, we're pouring over all the ancient texts of like all the different like world religions. And one of them like read and like misinterpreted like the words, the Akashic Records in Sanskrit. And they decided that it's like this giant like library where all emotion and all thought is stored in the Akashic Records.
And like your soul contracts, your fated thing.
Soul contracts. Yeah. It's a whole bureaucracy in there. Opinions differ as to whether the Akashic Records are only one person's Akashic Records. Like, you can go to your own Akashic Records, Or you can be like, guys, I went to Trump's Akashic Records.
And I found out.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Is it shared? Is it like a big library? Can you browse the stacks of the Akashic Records yourself? Or are you required to inquire at a librarian or librarians who work at the Akashic Records? Something about it resonates with me because I just think it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's fucking
awesome.
funny. Yeah. So we're going to keep deep diving into the Akashic Records for you.
We're going to do our best to kind of figure out what we can find at
at the Akashic Records. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like, we're with the Age of Aquarius information.
Yeah.
What did I do?
Age of Aquarius, all this bullshit.
It's like with the Age of Aquarius, the information age, the digital age, whatever feels good for you to say.
You're just phoning these sentences in. You've said them so many times.
This is my bit. This is like my Michael Saylor, repeating myself over and over again. We are decentralizing information and truth. Like truth is no longer a concept that comes from higher up and you just like listen to the higher ups. We are like collectively creating truth.
That's right.
And I think like the Akashic Records are a great example of that.
I mean, that's where the truth is stored.
Yeah, but even the access to it, right? People are like, oh, no, you got to go through the librarian. And other people are like, no, it's all in you. And it's like whatever feels true is what becomes the narrative of the Akashic Records.
Right, that's right.
And anything.
Yeah.
That's the truth about anything,
Yeah.
I feel like that's even how the markets work, to be honest. It's
Absolutely.
like, something can be bad for the markets, like Trump getting elected and promising that he's going to do tariffs. And people are like, well, I don't really believe that to be the case. So the number's going to go up.
Right.
You know? And if enough of us believe that, then the number goes up.
That is true. I mean, there is some like underlying base reality that eventually catches up to you.
Yeah.
Like if the widget factories aren't making the widgets fast enough, like society collapses, you know, and eventually the number goes down. But yeah, in the short term, the medium term, like absolutely sentiment is like a big deal and drives investment, and like you kind of don't know if investment is paying off for a while, and that's how bubbles happen. Yeah
I mean, I think like the ideal way to be like a knowing person, a seeker of knowledge, is like you have to have like 1 foot in the water of the unknown and 1 foot on the ground in reality. And you have to be able to like do the alchemical transmutation between those two things and not lose your footing in either way. Like you can't like if you totally cut yourself off from like the spiritual unknown, I mean, you can do that, like whatever, anyone can do whatever they want, but it's like you're missing out on like those sort of like weirdo psychological things that pop up. And then if you're too far in the weirdo psychological level, then you like lose complete touch with reality. And I don't know. I think that's just like part of the human experience. It's always the balance between.
I think that's all we really have to say about the Akashic Records.
I think that is.
Let's talk about Randonauting.
Okay,
just briefly touch on it.
Yeah, we got into Randonauting.
Yeah, Randonauting is like this thing where it's like rando, like astronaut, like so Randonaut. You go to this app and you press a button and it gives you a location in the vicinity, and you go visit that location.
Yeah. And it's advertises like quantum randomness.
That's right.
Like, and who knows if that's true?
Well, we think that they're finally going to plug in a real qubit to the Randonaut app.
I mean, it's finally a use case for quantum computing.
Because you only need 1 qubit for it, and it can be really noisy.
Yep.
Although they do say that the less noisy the qubit, the better the Randonauting.
Oh, they do say that.
They do say that.
Oh,
Indeed.
Shit. Okay. Yeah. Well, then we got to work on that and make sure that we get
They got to work on that.
Yeah, the guys at the Randonauting.
At the Randonauting Institute.
Yeah,
Indeed.
exactly.
Yeah.
I got into Randonauting in like 2017 or something, and I didn't realize that apparently it had like a whole moment on TikTok in 2020.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Like I don't know how I missed this, because like I would think my TikTok feed would give me that, but maybe I wasn't on TikTok at that time, because I got into TikTok like in 2020. So it could have happened before I was there. But
before you were there.
Before I was plugged into the telepathic matrix.
Yep.
But Randonauting got really popular during COVID because people wanted a reason to leave the house. It's like a social distancing activity. Like you basically, you open the Randonauting app, you like tell it to give you a point. And then the point is that you like go to that spot. And then it's like, you have some sort of synergistic experience that is like, oh my God, like everything's connecting. I've figured out the problem. You're like meditating on it, whatever. But apparently it got super popular in 2020 because a bunch of people were like looking for something to do and get out of the house. And then it kind of took like this dark turn where people were like, you have to be really careful randonauting. Like you don't necessarily want to know all the secrets that the Matrix is hiding from you if you're not spiritually evolved. And so it kind of took on this like weird sort of, this often happens with spirituality, I feel.
Oh,
it like
sure.
takes on this like dark turn of like, you know, like you don't want to know everything that's out there. Like be careful. You have to be really like don't put in an intention that's negative.
Oh,
like
sure.
don't whatever. And
an intention is you can set quote unquote an intention when you go to
when you generate
you can say what your goal is kind of.
Yeah. Like, oh, I have this problem. I'm trying to figure this out. I need a sign.
Yep.
You know, you're looking for a sign. And so they're very like, do not put something negative in, because I guess these like teenagers in Australia came across like a dead body that had been like they solved a cold case.
Damn.
Like the Randonauting app took them to like a body in a suitcase.
Damn.
Which
crazy.
is, you know,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And then people stopped. They were like, okay, we're deleting the app.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen when they plug in the real qubit.
That's what I'm saying. Like when we actually break the matrix, like it's, that's something to look out for, you guys, more than the market updates. You got to figure out like when they get the quantum computer plugged into the Randonauting app, like,
it's
all falling apart.
All falling apart.
Yeah. Don't worry about these tariffs, guys. That's 3D matrix stuff. We're in the 5D.
Yep.
Yeah, Casey's kind of doing like a spirituality arc these days. It's like very fun for me.
I have to bookend it or like, you know, scare quotes or whatever. Like I don't believe this stuff.
But usually you don't even find it interesting.
Yeah, something about the Akashic
Records. You don't let
Records.
me talk about.
They don't
let me.
They don't let you talk about it. Something about the Akashic Records I think is so funny. And that's led me to a comedic appreciation of spirituality.
Totally, but that's how I started, bro.
I mean, we'll see. Somebody was telling me like, oh, like, you know, maybe it's going to get you spirituality. And I'm like, nah, I've lived in the Bay Area for a long time.
I'd be very surprised if it did.
It'd be very weird.
A very like weird character arc for you to become like a spirituality bro.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like it.
Totally. No.
I like being the spiritual one.
Totally.
But it's like, I want to sometimes be able to be like, bro, the quantum computer and the Randonauting app, and have you be like, bro.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So it's been nice for me. But we'll switch gears now. We'll get back to 3D.
Hard 3D Bitcoin content.
Opcat.
We'll
clickbait this episode about Opcat, and then we'll talk about the Akashic Records for like 45 minutes, and then we'll get to the Opcat.
Yeah. Aaron, what is Opcat?
Okay, my understanding of Opcat is that it's an opcode that allows you to concatenate.
Indeed.
And that's about it.
What's concatenation?
Isn't that just combining things?
That's right.
Right?
What is a string?
A string would be like, you know, you could have in quotes, right? Like some number of characters. Like it can be anything, right?
Like what kind of characters?
Like you could have a sentence.
Like what? Give me an example.
This is a space.
Yep. The letters, you know, in these quotes.
Yeah. And then I could have a, this is a space in one string. And I could have another string that says dog.
Yep.
And then I could concatenate those two strings. This is a dog.
Brilliant.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what Opcat does on like a very basic level, right?
That's 100% what it does. Excellent explanation. I couldn't have given a better explanation. And this was originally present in Bitcoin. Opcat was in the first release of Bitcoin that went live. Satoshi turned it off in a random update.
You know when?
I don't remember. I want to say like it's got to be like 2009, 2010. Early, like prehistory. And I believe that he just got spooked about a bunch of opcodes. With the issue with Opcat being that if you take a string that's like one character and you concatenate it with itself, you get a string that's two characters. And then you keep going 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. And it gets really big, really quick. It like blasts off. And so you could use Opcat without any restrictions to like crash a Bitcoin by just concatenating strings together until the strings that you were concatenating didn't fit in the memory of the computer that was running the Bitcoin node. And so Satoshi turned off a lot of other things that are like probably fine. Like he turned off division, he turned off multiplication. So, you know, it's kind of whatever. Like it was, some of the things were like actual problems, some of them weren't. He probably could have left other things around. But yeah, he turned off Opcat. And Opcat turns out to be really, really powerful. And I was trying to like articulate today why it was powerful. And I still don't exactly have like a great answer, but I guess the analogy I would give is to that of a Turing machine. A Turing machine is basically like a kind of computer. And it turns out that all computers are equivalent to Turing machines. Some might be faster, some might be less fast, some might have like monitors and keyboards attached to them, some might not. But the basic like universe of what they can compute is identical to a Turing machine. Like my laptop has a lot of like optimizations to make it go fast. But if you could get a sufficiently fast Turing machine, which you kind of couldn't because Turing machines are very slow, it could do all the things that my laptop does. In the sense of there's no like universe of, calculations that we have a computer that can do that is not equivalent to a Turing machine.
Sure.
So why I bring up a Turing machine is that we have the concept of Turing completeness in a programming language, which is that like basically like can a programming language like JavaScript or C or Rust or whatever emulate a Turing machine? And if a programming language can emulate a Turing machine, because Turing machines can calculate everything that we know how to calculate, that programming language can calculate everything we know how to calculate.
And so does that just mean like it has all of the essentially like computational functionality that a Turing machine would have? Like, is that a way of saying it?
It is a way of saying it. And the computational functionality is like very subtle, what that is.
So like, Satoshi removing multiplication and division as an opcode, or like from Bitcoin, I don't know if it's opcode or whatever, like that decreases its Turing completeness?
No.
Okay.
Multiplication and division can be implemented with other operations.
Okay.
So for example,
but to be able to do that would be something that you would need for like a Turing machine.
No. Well, what I'm getting at is that like, it's actually, you don't need a lot of specific opcodes. Like multiplication can be implemented by adding many times, adding one many times, or, adding a number many times. And this is very inefficient, but it will calculate it. And efficiency and speed is not a prerequisite for Turing completeness. In fact, it's just completely discarded. It's like, can it eventually get the right answer? So the computational like functions that you need are very subtle and very like general. They're like, you need a way of choosing between A and B, like deciding based on some data, I'm going to do A or I'm going to do B. You need some sort of computation, like addition, subtraction, like something like that, like arithmetic. It turns out you can do a lot with arithmetic. And then maybe you need some way of like looping, of like going back. Because if you can go through sets of choices and then you can go back and go through sets of choices again, then you have a program that can run forever and can do many, many different things. So it's actually these like very small things that you need for it to be Turing complete. And you can get Turing completeness in very weird ways. There's a language that has a single instruction, which is subtract and branch if negative, where you subtract X from Y, and if the result is negative, you jump to a different part of the program to do another one of these operations. And that gets you Turing completeness somehow. It's very weird. Turing completeness pops up at times when we didn't intend them to. Like the C++ template language is Turing complete. You can calculate anything using the template language, and it's not intended for that. It's intended to be this like very limited feature, but they like accidentally added enough functionality that they got Turing completeness. So I don't want to say that Opcat makes Bitcoin Turing complete, because in fact it does not. It's not enough to make Bitcoin Turing complete. In particular, in order to do Turing completeness, you need, like I said, a way of looping, a way of like going back to a previous step and repeating it. And Bitcoin does not have this step. So why am I saying this all? Well, I'm saying it because it feels to me like Opcat is kind of like these one very general computational building blocks that it doesn't unlock Turing completeness, but it unlocks a whole other world of computations.
And why is that, like specifically from the perspective of concatenating?
Yeah, it's like it's anabolic in the sense of building up larger things from smaller things, right? And that's very powerful. All of a sudden,
right.
Like if you, like exactly your example with the dog sentence, like this is a blank, this is a dog, this is a cat, this is an X, this is a Y. And also Bitcoin doesn't really do computation. Bitcoin scripts don't do computation. They verify the result of other computation. Their receipts.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why, like, that's how signatures work. Bitcoin's not really computing a signature. It's not doing the signing.
That's it's like saying, the signing device.
Exactly.
And then Bitcoin is just like confirming the result.
Exactly. It's verifying that this computation happened and going like, okay, because that is the kind of things that we want to do, is verifying computation. Turing completeness is not so important. And in fact, may be counterproductive because that explodes the complexity of the system.
Are there cryptos that are Turing complete?
Yeah, Ethereum is Turing complete.
Right. I sort of a leading question. That's kind of what I assumed. Yep. I think it's like there's an interesting dynamic between like Bitcoin as digital gold versus Bitcoin as programmable money.
Yep.
You know, and I think Ethereum has gone way in the programmable money direction, but there's trade-offs to either.
Absolutely.
Continue with what you were saying, but
yeah. So because Bitcoin wants to do verifying computation, I think that opcat is especially useful. One of the things that you want to do with opcat is you want to cat things together. You want to concatenate things together so you can then hash them and like say like, was a signature made over this hash?
Okay. Can you give me like an example of just like, why would you do that? Like what's the use for that?
Yeah. So a very powerful use is, let's say you want to do some form of like covenant.
Mm-hmm.
You want to verify that a transaction has a certain shape, that it has certain recipients, that it has certain inputs,
and just maybe explain covenants, because that's also, I feel like all these words people throw around assume everyone knows what they mean, but yep. I don't think they do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So a covenant is a way of restricting how Bitcoin may be spent in the future.
Mm-hmm. And you could imagine doing that for like estate planning, for example, right?
Yeah, sure. You can say like, for example, like, hey, I am, I can do whatever I want, but after, a year of me not moving my Bitcoin, the only thing that can be done is send it to my lawyer.
Yeah. So like send to this address.
Send to this address. Yeah. Yep. And you can do that with opcat. What you do is I'm going to get the details wrong. It's very complicated, but basically you construct the transaction that you want plus the bits that verify, concatenate it and hash it in the same way that Bitcoin does, and then verify that like the transaction signature was made over that same hash.
Mm-hmm.
And because you know that the transaction is signed, then you know that the transaction has this shape because the signature was made over the hash with the pieces that you assembled with opcat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So like opctv, this is my understanding,
yep.
is like a strict way of doing covenants.
Yep.
Opcat enables other ways of doing covenants, or
and
like
more
and more
and
right.
more. Yeah.
So that's like the ... open-endedness that makes it like more scary than
that's
opctv.
Right. Yeah, and opctv is incredibly limited, and I think the longer that time goes, opctv starts looking like a better and better idea. In part because we kind of haven't figured out like alternatives to opctv. This is something that Jeremy told me. Just ripping him off.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
I was ripping Nifty off when I was talking about you just want to cat things so you can hash them.
I was ripping Nifty off when I gave the opcat definition.
Okay, there we go.
So we're really just we're ripping off all past Hell Money podcast guests.
Great, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yep.
So CTV hashes a bunch of parts of the transaction and verifies that it matches some hash that you give. That's it. It's just saying like this transaction must have this hash, and it verifies the outputs and the amounts and the time locks and stuff like that. I don't think it looks at the inputs, but that's it. So it's a way of doing this kind of exact like estate planning kind of stuff. Opcat is much more general. Like I said, it that concept, that ability to do covenants is kind of just an example. It's an example of what seems to be the kind of very powerful functionality that unlocks once you have the ability to do concatenation and hashing on Bitcoin, and like you just get a lot out of it.
Do you have a tangible, like, so I think something that I struggle with a lot of these opcodes is like, if I can put it into a tangible outcome that feels good for Bitcoin as money, then I'm like, oh yeah, we should have that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I would really like to have, estate planning, insurance. There's a lot of stuff that that would be great if we can do it trustlessly on Bitcoin.
Yep.
The more that Bitcoin can replace functionality that we have in the financial system, more like Bitcoin is money, like financial system maybe opens the door to like a lot of other things that I don't mean, but the more that like Bitcoin can be a better version of money than the dollar, the better for Bitcoin.
Yep.
And I think the thing that I often struggle with is like, okay, for opctv or covenants or whatever, I can picture that.
Yep.
I've not really heard what is the and ... that opcat enables that is like a tangible money, Bitcoin as money outcome that makes it great.
Yeah, I think probably covenants are a good example. Like,
so just more types of covenants than what's available through OpsCTV.
Yeah, like friend of the podcast, Rob Hamilton, is doing great things with Bitcoin insurance at AnchorWatch. And he uses a lot of restrictions on UTXOs that you and AnchorWatch enter into voluntarily so they can reduce the risk of insuring your Bitcoin. And they can also provide you nice safety things where if you lose a key at some point later, like they can move it for you, right? That's not the common case. They don't have the ability to move your Bitcoin, but like after some huge timeout, if you still haven't moved it, then they move it. The idea is that you move it into this insured UTXO and then later you move it out of this insured UTXO. So I'm sure that he would have a bunch of ways that covenants would make his life easier.
But beyond covenants, like what is opcat good for?
Crazy L2s.
Okay.
Crazy L2s
that work? Question mark?
I mean, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. Interestingly, I don't think I've heard anybody talk about how opcat can improve Lightning. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's not what I've heard about. Nobody who's interested in Lightning talks about opcat. Like L-Enhance, which is like a package of Lightning soft fork stuff, I don't think includes opcat, and I don't think anybody contemplates including it.
I wonder if that's cultural or technical.
I think it's technical.
Yeah.
I think the Lightning people would like grab whatever goodies they could.
Yeah.
If it made Lightning better.
Sense.
Yeah, I mean
Lightning.
They're working on Lightning super hard. They're Lightning true believers. Like if opcat was really good for Lightning, I think I would have heard about it.
Okay, so opcat potentially enables like L2 functionality that's not useful for Lightning.
Yeah, like Arc.
Okay.
Like Arc is like a crazy L2 with liquidity problems that I don't know how to feel about. Barack is we could maybe get him on the pod.
Oh yeah, maybe we can get him on the pod.
Yep.
That could be cool.
Troublemaker like us.
Yep.
But yeah, crazy L2s. It enables a lot of experimentation because you can do a lot of other opcodes badly using opcat. Like remember when I said that like a Turing machine, like how fast it goes isn't important? It's sort of like given an infinite amount of time and an infinite amount of space, will it eventually be able to get the right answer?
Yeah, like you can add up to any number if you just do +1 +1 +1 +1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And you like check if it's less than that number.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So like that is so opcat lets you do a lot of other opcodes, but like the script size is going to be really big. So the fees are going to be really big, right? Like you could, I think, even do like zero knowledge proofs on Bitcoin using opcat, but like we're talking like 4 megabyte transaction. Like, so that's a nice thing that it enables some experimentation. I think that's really good. It is scary. I take the scary stuff kind of seriously, much more seriously than anybody else. I think everybody else, I mean, not everybody else. I take the scary stuff much more seriously than like people in ordinals.
Yeah, the Bitcoin Renaissance, Bitcoin Season 2 crowd.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They're like, whatever. They're like, you know, like make the opcode printer go burr.
Yeah.
Like whatever. But like serious Bitcoiners, well, some serious Bitcoiners are like, make the opcode machine go burr. But other Bitcoiners are like, well, like we actually don't want arbitrary computation on Bitcoin. Because then you could build like Uniswap. And this would get you like crazy MEV and like minor capture and like weird censorship stuff on Bitcoin. Like we don't want that, you know? So I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of neutral on opcat. I kind of go back and forth. I think about the cool stuff and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. It'd be nice if we could experiment. Like I do think we would probably get a second technical renaissance on Bitcoin if we had opcat, due to people actually being incentivized to experiment. Like there's a bunch of people who are never going to try to experiment because they don't have the luxury of experimenting without knowing that they're going to be able to deploy it on mainnet.
Yeah.
Right. But if opcat gets activated, then all those people will be like, awesome, I can start experimenting now. Right. God bless people who are experimenting before an opcode is launched, because that's in all likelihood like wasted or effort that could have been done delayed, you know. But yeah, it would unlock a renaissance, which would be cool. On the downside, we would get this like scary stuff. I would much prefer, I guess one thing that I can say concretely is I think that I would like other things that are less scary and I'm sure are good ideas first.
That's what I was going to say, is I feel like my take on it, that's what I was sort of getting at with the like, give me an explanation that's more than covenants that opcat can do that feels like tangible to me, is like, if there's something that's very limited and it fulfills like a very specific use that is useful for Bitcoin as money, then I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, why wouldn't we do that? But if there's another thing that maybe does like 5 more versions of doing that first thing and question mark other things, that seems like a much harder inertia for me to overcome in order to be like supporting.
Yeah, I think people would talk about like trustless like bridges and L2s, but I also think those things are super fake.
I know, that's the thing. I'm
like they
don't
fucking exist.
About?
So like, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna build it and then you're gonna figure out that the trade-offs are crazy and you're like never gonna be able to remove the trust component. It's just a fucking multi-sig. Like, who cares if like it could be built? You're gonna build it and it's gonna fucking suck.
How does like Fediment fit into this?
Fediment is a totally separate system. Fediment,
right, but like I guess the reason why I connected is like Fediment is like, you know, a very like Bitcoin maxi sort of way of dealing with the scaling problem.
Yes and
right?
no, but yeah, definitely Bitcoin maxi friendly.
It's like don't change Bitcoin, just like understand that there are things that are not trustless that could scale it.
Yeah, totally.
Which like is kind of the same thing as a multi-sig L2.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
You know, like to me, it's like these are just like 2 different like cultures that are coming to the same answer, but they're like antagonistic to the other. I don't even know if Fediment is antagonistic to whatever. Like, I don't really have a sense of those people, but
they don't even care about the ordinals people. But the Fediment people are correct. Like that there are things that aren't Bitcoin that scale and that you can have less than a 100% perfect trustless model.
Yeah.
That is great.
I guess it's more that it's like, you know, Fediment gets this like, you know, you could go to a Bitcoin Maxi conference and they would have like a Fediment like keynote presentation and Fediment stage and Fediment hack. Like they really embrace that. Whereas if you wanted to have like a Bitcoin L2 stage, people would be like, that's shitcoining. That's like all bullshit.
On the technical side, Fediment is like not bullshit and it's very concrete. It's very concrete. It's not a bunch of ridiculous hopium. It's technology that works now. It needs to be built out, but it's not the same. I would say that it's even more concrete than Lightning. Like that the trade-offs are even easier to understand.
I guess the difference is like the honesty, I guess is the way that I would put it. It's like, you know, Fediment is kind of being honest about its trade-offs. Whereas like a lot of L2s are promising a DeFi trustless solution that they will never be able to deliver.
Absolutely. And we see, you know, that Bitcoin maxis have a different stance towards Lightning that has a lot of trade-offs, but it's not hopium. It's very concrete. It's honest about the trade-offs, right? So that is, I think, the difference in acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it all is like the same. Like I don't have like a crypto prejudice in the same way. I don't like crypto, but like I think like solutions can come from many different directions and they're still the same solution in the end, regardless of the initial intent.
I've been so surprised about how few solutions come from crypto. If you would talk to me in 2013 and you were like, hey, Ethereum's like launching, like, do you think that like cool stuff will come out that will migrate to Bitcoin? I would be like, oh yeah, totally. And like what, we got JPEGs in token. You fucking kidding me? Like, and they're so obvious. They're just like a new kind of asset. Like, oh wow, you can have a fungible asset and you can have a non-fungible asset. Like.
And the lawyers were the ones who figured that one out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, has any of this like, is this DeFi shit worth a tinker's damn? Like fucking no, bro.
But maybe that's like I don't know, that could just be like the way that progress works. You know, you have a lot of hopium and then the result is like a couple good things.
Yeah, true.
And it's like Bitcoin puppets.
Yeah, the Vitalik themed carnage and like, what do we got? We got puppets.
Yeah, like we get the JPEGs on the blockchain.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like who would be good? Like we should have Rijndael on to like sell us an OpCap basically.
Well, we do have this little Twitter thread from Rijndael.
Oh, we do. That was kind of the inspiration for talking about it because Rijndael did a thread.
Yep.
Taproot Wizards finally delivered. And it's a thread from Rijndael.
I printed out this thread, so I'm just going to read it a little bit. So Rijndael posts Taplocks verifiable but unspendable tap leaps or a hash lock over a time lock. This is sort of a way of doing OpCat today, but by making it so that you can upgrade when the opcode is deployed.
So it's like dev tools kind of. It's like, oh, you want to start working on OpCat stuff. Like if you think OpCat's coming eventually, you want to start working on OpCat stuff. You want to start testing your OpCat stuff. You can use what is it? Tap leaf? What is it?
Taplocks.
Taplocks.
Mm-hmm.
You can use Taplocks, and then that's like a way of testing essentially, with the idea that it's easy then to migrate to the final form that would happen when opcat is merged.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's a great thing, and like coming from Rijndael, like it's very like realistic about what it is.
The trade-offs.
Yeah, the response is like, I'm like, okay, guys, like,
what are people saying? I haven't even looked.
I don't think I printed out the replies, unfortunately. I should have.
But they're like, Turing completeness is coming to Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, Turing completeness is coming to Bitcoin. Like, opcat is here, and it's like, dude, if you're willing to send your coins to a multi-sig, like, yeah, you can do fucking anything. The rules don't apply. Like, you're in multi-sig land, you can do whatever. And one of the things that you can do is have your coins rugged by the people who have the keys to the multi-sig. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's this classic opium. And this is like what the whole space is. Like, it's like, oh, we have an L2. We have a trustless DeFi bridge L2 of ruins to Solana. And it's like, it's a fucking multi-sig. It's a fucking multi-sig. Like, it's all fucking multi-sigs. So,
but that's why people are like, oh, we just elected a president that's making financial crime legal. And it's like, you elected the tariff president.
You elected the tariff president.
Like,
exactly.
That's what actually is happening. But it kind of doesn't, the market doesn't care, because the market is like,
oh, I mean, I heard that the market really cared this week.
Well, now when the reality is actually hitting, you know,
once somebody's Taplock gets rugged by the multi-sig, then they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really where, you know, the invisible hand of the market, I'm like, the market is wrong a lot of the time. Like, the market, meaning like the stock market.
Oh, I mean, the market is wrong in the short term and medium term all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
I agree. Long term.
Yeah. Long term. Well, so the two forces that are important for the market, the things that make the market right sooner are competition, or I don't know, Nicholas Nassim Taleb.
Yeah.
He says this as an absorbing barrier. I think that that's a really opaque way of putting it. I would say like a pruning function, or like something that like a culling function, something that makes unsuccessful entities go away. You know? So if you're not in an easy money environment, a company that makes a product that nobody buys is just going to cease to exist. It's going to go bankrupt, like mechanically. Like, you know, yeah, I guess the owners can keep putting more and more money. They can try to get more and more investment, but like, that business is going to go away. So that is a essential part of what makes the market correct, is that the non-functional things just go away. And when you have an easy money environment, when you have hopium, so you have endless investment, that's when the market is wrong for longer, right? There's two components. There's this like this pruning function that like gets rid of the deadwood. And then there's the incentive function that gets people to want to go in the right direction. So you have all these businesses going in some different directions, and some of them are just incompetent and they're going in a stupid direction. But the other ones that are incompetent are being driven in the right direction by incentives, which is like making money and then being able to buy stuff. And then the ones that don't make any money just get pruned after a while. And so like crypto is so frothy, and there's so much crazy investment, and oftentimes the product is not the product. The product is like getting rugged by the team.
It's the token.
It's the token. And like, this is the investment opportunity. Like, that is the product.
Yeah.
And so as a result, the crypto market often stays irrational. Good ideas for longer. Good ideas, bad ideas are thought to be good ideas for longer. We get these big bubbles that then collapse, right? And yeah, maybe we'll get a Taplock bubble.
Maybe.
Yeah, we can only hope. The degens need something to do.
They do need something to do.
They really do.
They really do.
Yeah.
Although they could just touch grass. They could connect to their spirituality.
They could. Yeah.
They could go to the Akashic Records and see what they can find.
Yeah.
Someone needs to go to the Akashic Records.
Tell us what's there.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't go. I'm spiritually dead inside.
Yeah, Casey's not tapped in enough in that realm.
Nor do I really want to be.
No. I don't think it's safe for Casey to go there.
No, I mean, a spiritually tapped in Casey. Like,
we don't want to see that.
We don't want to see that.
We do not want to see that. But you guys, go to the Akashic Records
and comment on our YouTube video or on Twitter and tell us what is in the Akashic Records.
Tell us what they have to say about opcat.
Yeah. Tell us exactly. Yeah. Tell us what the librarian, what is the Akashic Records Dewey Decimal System that things are organized under?
Is the Akashic Records Turing complete?
Is the Akashic Records Turing complete? Yeah. I want to know, you know what stacks are like in a library?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love stacks. I hope they have like wheelable stacks.
I'll just clip you saying I love stacks.
I love stacks. Please don't clip that.
Tag stacks.
Yeah. Get Munib really excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe the answer to OpCat lies in the Akashic Records. Maybe it lies in 3D physical reality.
Yeah. I mean, definitely both, I think.
Yeah. So true.
So true.
1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land.
That's right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Should we end it there? Do we have anything else to talk about?
No, we got nothing.
Subscribe to the podcast for more content.
I guess like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
We
subscribe do Twitter Spaces in the off weeks.
Subscribe really on YouTube, which is free, and then subscribe on Twitter, which is not free.
Which is not free, and you get more content there.
You get a bi-weekly Twitter space for subscribers only, where we drop hot alpha.
We honestly do.
We do.
We honestly do.
We do drop alpha. Yeah. And it's oftentimes like somebody in the audience will come up and speak, and they'll have alpha.
It's a safe space. It's behind a paywall.
That's right.
You can say anything.
That's right. Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, but
we've said a lot.
Yeah. Too much sometimes.
Come to Vegas. Inscribing Vegas May 27th.
Use
code HELLMONEY for 10% off.
That's right. Yep.
Sats cards coming soon.
We got some very nice sleeves for the Sats cards.
It's all coming together.
Even if Trump slapped a 105% tariff on those sleeves, they still would have been cheaper than the American competitor. So I don't think the tariffs are going to work. We would still buy from China.
I am very scared because the Sats cards are coming from Canada, I think.
Yeah, right.
We're fucked.
Oh, yeah. We could get a 100% tariff on the Sats cards from Canada. Have to pay a cool
but we're in
double
California,
our money.
So we'll see. Maybe by the time they arrive, California will have reached a trade deal with Canada.
Praying to Daddy Newsom.
Yeah,
Daddy Newsom.
Please, Daddy Newsom. But yeah, I think that's all.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.